Welcome. In some denominations, you'd make a trip to the pastor's study for answers to the really tough questions. Well, let's see what we can do here. Hello. Merry meet and blessed be. Depending on how you got here, I'm Aidan Odinson, High Priest of the Temple of Gaia, or Bishop Cal Lippitt of the Universal Episcopal Church. Well, either way, welcome to yet another session in a very different pastor study. The subject of prayer comes up quite often. I do a fair amount of it. I didn't used to. Well, I didn't think I used to, but I did. I just didn't call it that because of what some other people were doing in the name of prayer that I didn't quite agree with. So easy to... Yeah, you see somebody who's hungry? What are you going to do? Give them some food? You can pray for them. Somebody's thirsty. What are you going to do? Give them a cold drink of water? Why do that when you can pray for them? Yeah. And that kind of cop-out Christianity was a lot of my introduction to prayer, and then I discovered what it really was about. And it was not necessarily through Christianity. But what I found out does work, and it works for everybody. How to have power in prayer. Prayer that actually works. Now it doesn't matter if you're talking about your individual prayer, what you might do on the bus on the way to work, or even driving on the way to work, or at work, or at home first thing in the morning, or last thing at night, or any other at time. And this will also, if you have a ritual, I don't care whether you're talking about one of your personal rituals, or if you're in a position like me and you sometimes lead one, and you have other people watching. It works there too. Certain basic principles. Number one, know it. Now, when you're talking about something that you're just doing spontaneously, yeah, that's a different matter. You already know it. But what about something that you find in a book? If it's an Ostara or Samhain ritual, or anything else, or if you're a priest who says Mass, oh, well, I've seen all sorts of things there, going back many years, more years than I want to admit to, where I would find priests who would, one of them was very good at the odd hours masses that were in the side chapel. He was able to boom one of them out in about 20 minutes. And everybody's gone and they've punched their ticket. And I've seen some others that I wish would have taken longer because of all that they accomplished. Know it. What do I mean by know it? Understand it. Be able to explain it. Now, one of my favorite rituals begins with, this is a time that is not a time, and a place that is not a place, on a day that is not a day. I stand at the threshold between the worlds before the veil of mysteries. What am I talking about there? Or, one that's familiar to probably most of you, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, etc., etc. A lot of people go through those that are written down or taught to them, and okay, take that Our Father, write it out. Write it out in your own words, what it is that you are asking for. Some people will have a hard time with that. It's kind of like on this 1960s TV show that ran, I think it was like 9 o'clock or 9:30 at night, Candid Camera. And the guy who created it, Alan Funt, one of his favorite things was to ask little children what the words of the Pledge of Allegiance was. One nation, indivisible, indivisible. Does that mean you can't see it? That's what some of them said. No, be able to explain it, what it is. Our Father. Okay, what Father? My Father, I know his name, I know where he's buried, I know where he was born. And I spent many years enjoying the pleasure of his company. But I don't think that's the Father I'm talking to. Now, who is it, and why do we call him Father? Who art in heaven. Well, where is this heaven? Hallowed be thy name. Oh yeah, and why? And what does that mean? All that sort of thing. And then, feel it and believe it. Two components. Feel it and believe it. And let's not forget, know it. Feel it and believe it. This is where the right kind of practice comes in. And I'm not talking about just reciting it. Every once in a while, I get a story from somebody about Sister so-and-so and her third grade class and marching everybody into the chapel, and they would kneel there in the proper position with the rosaries in their hands and Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Up, 2, 3, 4, up, 2, 3, 4. And the way they were doing Hail Marys was about as meaningful as my training officer doing a up, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. No, that's not what we're after. And this is where knowing it and being able to explain it fit in with feeling it and believing it. Kitukipaya ki moja kinatosha. What do you think about that? Can you get behind that? Can you really support it? Can you really believe Kituki moja kipaya kinatosha? Of course not. Not unless you understand Swahili, and I'm not going to translate that for you. Now, if there's something that you like in Latin, and you want to say it in Latin, and you know what it is that you're saying, and you understand it and you can explain it, fine. Go for it if that works for you. Works for me in a few cases. Know it, feel it, believe it. And then you learn the balances. One being the balance between words and emotions. Especially if you're conducting a public ritual. I have so often come close to tripping over and falling on my face verbally. I'm going to give you an example from church back home. And those of you who follow me there will know this line, and you'll know where it is, and you can look it up for yourself. We beseech thee also so to direct and dispose the hearts of all Christian rulers, that they may truly and impartially administer justice to the punishment of wickedness and vice, and to the maintenance of thy true religion and virtue. Yeah. Well, there's been a couple of times when I've caught myself, and I don't think I've seen the words fly out of my mouth yet. But to direct and dispose the hearts of all Christian rulers, that they may truly and earnestly repent. I find myself, just as I was getting to truly and earnestly, backtrack, get back to the right words. And this is one reason why it's helpful to have, in the form of this, or whatever works for you. I use a 3-ring binder with stuff printed out in fairly large type as guidelines. You don't need to do that if you're doing it for yourself. But hey, even the Pope uses a missal, even though he probably ought to know what's in it. But yeah, even the Pope has his little crutch book. So why not? A balance between the words and the emotions. Because sometimes you'll get caught up in the emotions, or something might leak in that may not necessarily be what you want to have leak in at that time. And if you are doing any kind of a public ritual, then that's important. To keep it on the track that it's supposed to be on. And another, more personal. A balance between belief and knowledge. I talked about know it, feel it, believe it. And a balance between belief and knowledge. You're going to be addressing and invoking the names of some folks that you're probably not going to see face to face in this lifetime. At least not in the same way that you're looking at me, or I'm looking at you, or for that matter, the way I might look at Lady Stormy, my wife. No. But between belief and knowledge, one of the fun things about being a Gnostic is what Gnosticism is so much about. So much of it is understanding how much of it is we don't know. So, if I'm praying to somebody, is this recipient of my prayers the absolute ultimate? The big one? Or some lesser one? Sometimes I may know, sometimes I may not. And I know that there's an absolute limit to what I do know. But I certainly can believe that I'm talking to the right one to be able to do for me what needs to be done. That I'd be talking to somebody who's pleased to have me come around again as a customer. That knowledge and belief can be perfectly balanced. Stuff that you don't know about just can be kept in their perspective. But with that, you'll have eliminated most of the more popular barriers to effective prayer. And with that, I'm including such things as God's will, God's time, God's higher plan, which you've automatically excluded them from being interferers in your life. And so, you've got the divine's attention, regardless of what name or names you're using. And you've opened the channel of communication, and away you go. And I get that kind of excitement several times a day, and I love it. Go for it. It'll do a lot for you, provided that you let it. I'm Aidan. Merry part, merry meet again. Blessed be. See you next week. This has been a presentation of the Wise Ones Net. Merry part and blessed be.